Thanks for joining us on Plus TV Africa. I am Felicity Ezewike. The President of the Senate, Dr. Bukola Saraki, is reveling in the unanimous judgment of the Supreme Court, where justices discharged and acquitted him on all 16 counts brought by the Code of Conduct Tribunal. In a press statement signed by him personally, and I quote, "At the end of a torturous journey of 1,018 days counting from September 22, 2015, when the case began at the tribunal, I am happy that I have been vindicated. The Supreme Court has affirmed that there is no evidence of false declaration of assets. The court also observed that certain agents took over the responsibility of the Code of Conduct Bureau in this trial, and one can infer that this was done towards a predetermined end." Dr. Saraki also said that he refused to be shaken and drew inspiration from the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, and I quote again, "I knew the day would come when justice would prevail and I would be vindicated," end of quote. His statement reaffirmed his belief in the infallibility of the judiciary, but he also stressed that his trial was from the onset politically motivated, and in his words, "The case was trumped up in the first instance because of my emergence as President of the Senate against the wishes of certain forces." In the lead judgment today, Justice Santos Weze upheld Saraki's appeal and dismissed the federal government's appeal, noting that the prosecution's evidence was entirely hearsay. The Senate President had approached the court over the decision of the federal government through the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to try him again before the Code of Conduct Tribunal, which had earlier set him free.
This matter is over. Let there be peace in our country.
That's the decision of the Apex Court. And being the decision of the Apex Court is binding on everyone. It's binding on me, it's binding on my client, it's binding on everyone.
Saraki said he is happy to be vindicated. The outcome, according to him, gladdened his heart and further strengthened his belief in the country and its judicial system, and went on to thank God on his newly gained freedom. Here's the timeline of Saraki's trial from when the case went to court in September 2015 till today, when the Supreme Court called off the trial. Congratulatory messages have been pouring in support of the Senate President, Senator Bukola Saraki. His deputy, Ike Ekweremadu, congratulated him on the dismissal of the charges. Ekweremadu describes the verdict as a victory for legislature and democracy. In his words, he said, "This decision has no doubt strengthened faith in the judiciary as a sanctuary of justice and defender of rule of law. It has once again distinguished the judiciary as the bastion of democracy and last hope of the oppressed." Governor Abdul Fattah Ahmed, governor of Kwara State, where the Senate President comes from, has also chimed in on the Supreme Court verdict. The governor, in a statement by his chief press secretary, Abdul Wahab Oba, described the Apex Court as the beacon of democracy in the country. The statement said that the Apex Court's judgment has reinforced the belief that the judiciary remains the hope of the common man. The opposition party PDP also applauded the Supreme Court judgment in a statement to newsmen made in Abuja by its National Publicity Secretary, Honorable Kola Ologodiyan. The party said the Supreme Court, by the judgment, has further reinforced the confidence of Nigerian citizens and the encourage of the institution of the judiciary as the temple of justice and the last hope of the common man, particularly under an oppressive regime. Away from the Senate President's vindication, the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice on Friday arraigned the former governor of Benue State, Gabriel Soswan, on fresh 3 charges of illegal possession of firearms and money laundering. Soswan, who has been in the custody of the Department of State Services, pleaded not guilty when the charges were read to him before the Federal High Court in Abuja on Friday. The court granted him bail in the sum of 500 million naira. The case filed on June 26, 2018 was the 3rd criminal matter instituted against Soswan since he left office as Benue State Governor in 2015. The court adjourned the case till October 24 and 25. Barely 5 days after the gruesome killing of 7 policemen in Abuja, the police said they have arrested 5 suspects in connection with the attack. It was learned that the crack investigation team is also on the matter. Officer Acting DCP Jimoh Moshood explained that investigations were ongoing to apprehend other suspects involved in the brutal killing of the riot policemen, and he has directed that the deceased be given befitting burials. Up shortly is news making the headlines around Africa and, of course, the rest of the world. A controversy is hovering over a $340,000 grant given by the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, to the University of Zambia. The grant was given to develop a degree program on what is called the intangible cultural heritage, and an alleged statement from the Zambian National Commission for UNESCO was quoted to have explained that intangible heritage comprises of many social practices and witchcraft. Professor Luke Mumba, Vice-Chancellor of the University of Zambia, denied the allegations that the university was planning to offer courses on witchcraft. South Sudan's government and rebels have reached a deal on security arrangements during talks in Khartoum, Sudanese state news agency SUNA reported, as part of efforts to end nearly 5 years of civil war. The talks have been hosted by Sudan, from which South Sudan declared independence in 2011 after decades of bloodshed. Last month, CAR signed a framework agreement with rebel leader Machar in Khartoum, providing for a ceasefire and paving the way for talks towards a full treaty, but rebels immediately rejected some elements of the accord. The fighting in South Sudan has uprooted about a quarter of its 12 million population, gutted oil production, and ruined an already widely impoverished economy. Former Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif was sentenced to 10 years in jail in a corruption case by Pakistan's Accountability Court on Friday. His daughter Mariam was also given a 7-year jail term, while son-in-law Captain Sabda received a 1-year prison sentence. Nawaz Sharif faced corruption charges and was forced to resign as Prime Minister by Pakistan's Supreme Court after his name and family's name appeared in the Panama Papers case. The National Accountability Bureau Court accused Sharif and his family of being unable to legitimately show the money trail for the purchase of several luxurious properties in London, mostly in the mid-1990s. Sharif was ousted by the Supreme Court in July 2017 and barred from politics for being dishonest. He was also disqualified from holding public office for life and is ineligible to contest elections by the Pakistani Supreme Court. and in business. Oil prices dropped further today to $77 per barrel on the back of increased production from Saudi Arabia and rising tensions from the United States and China. According to OPEC sources, Saudi Arabia had told OPEC they had increased output by about 500,000 barrels per day last month. At 09:10 GMT, Brent crude had dropped by 19 cents at $77.20 a barrel, while U.S. crude slipped 2 cents to $72.92. This validated the promise by Saudi Arabia to increase output, as said by Tamas Vaga. According to U.S. government reports, crude stockpiles rose 1.3 million barrels. A nationwide audit of all Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation subsidiary field operations has commenced, as announced by NNPC on Thursday. The operation is to take place in the downstream subsidiary, NNPC Retail Limited, which deals with the supply and distribution of petroleum products. The audit is aimed at ensuring that all delisted trucks comply with the requirements to remove NNPC logo and other brand-related attributes on such trucks, as said by Ndu Ngamadu, General Manager, Public Affairs Division. He also said this will help validate that only NNPC Retail tested and certified trucks bear the company's logo and other company features. He re-emphasized that all NNPC retail trucks were operating under the most stringent safety protocols and were also roadworthy. The strength of the Naira against the greenback has appreciated significantly to 357 Naira to a dollar on the parallel markets, as reported on Thursday. This also reflected in the buying rate of the dollar, as the greenback sold at 359 Naira to a dollar against the 360 Naira to a dollar, which was its previous rate. The strength of the Naira can be attributed to the boost in the country's external reserve, which moved from $47.472 billion as of June 4, 2018 to $47.798 billion on Wednesday. Also, the recent directive by the Central Bank of Nigeria to all bureau d'échange operators to henceforth access forests from the CBN 3 times a week or risk having their license reviewed has increased forest liquidity and also strengthened the Naira. Still ahead on Plus TV Africa News is our roundup on sports and entertainment. We'll be back in a moment.
And in entertainment, Nigerian radio personality, talk show host and presenter Tolu Oniru, popularly known as Tools, took to social media to celebrate her 36th birthday by donating 200,000 Naira to deserving winners. In her message, she said she was in an awesome mood and is super grateful to God for everything and hopes to transfer some of that energy. She therefore gave out 50,000 Naira to randomly selected 4 people who left comments about what they would do with the money. American singer-songwriter and actor Chris Brown was arrested in Florida for an outstanding warrant after a concert at the Coral Sky Amphitheater in West Palm Beach as part of his nationwide tour. Chris was detained for felony battery by Hillsborough County Sheriff Office, and he posted a bond of 2,000 Naira before he was set free an hour later. Chris Brown has been accosted in times past in 2009 regarding the domestic violence incidents with his ex-girlfriend singer Rihanna, and in 2016 the singer was banned from entering Australia, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom due to his criminal history. English musician Declan Patrick McManus, popularly known by his stage name Elvis Costello, has unwillingly cancelled the remainder of his European tour following the removal of a very aggressive cancer through surgery. He has been advised to rest by his doctor and as such had to cancel the rest of his tour dates. He was due to play in Austria, Croatia, Norway and Sweden. In a statement, he said he realized he needed further time to recuperate and apologized to ticket holders and that refunds will be made through their point of purchase. He further stated that there was optimistic news in the sense that he was going to be releasing a new record which will be issued in October. And that's it on entertainment, the very best in sports, right after this.
Hello and welcome to Sport Update on Plus TV Africa. I am Udoka Njoko with the update of what's happening around the world of sport. And a game between France and Uruguay, of course, ended in favor of France, and they are into the semi-finals of the World Cup for the first time since 2006 after seeing off Uruguay with the help of a terrible error by the goalkeeper Fernando Muslera. And Rafael Varane headed France into the lead in the first half from a free kick, and Atletico Madrid superstar Antoine Griezmann, his shots from the edge of the area had Muslera misjudging the flight of the ball, flapped at the shot and saw it loop slowly over the line. And France will take on the winner of the game between Brazil and Belgium in the semi-finals in St. Petersburg next week Tuesday. And those sides play later today, talking about Brazil and Belgium. Ghana defender Rashid Sumaila has officially been unveiled by Serbian club Red Star Belgrade, and the centre-back was shown to the public after signing a short-term deal with the club. The 25-year-old penned a 6-month deal with Red Star Belgrade from Kuwaiti club Al Qassia. Sumaila could be signed on a permanent deal if he has a good outing during his time at the club. And Red Star Belgrade earlier today unveiled the defender together with Milos Tegenek, who also joined the club. And in tennis, world number 44 Gael Monfils defeated 11th seed Sam Querrey to book a place in the 4th round of Wimbledon. And the Frenchman came back from a set down to win after a medical timeout for a groin injury. And it is the first time Monfils has gone beyond the 3rd round at Wimbledon. And earlier, it was the 4th seed Alexandra Zverev who defeated Taylor Fritz in the 2nd round after a suspension in play overnight. But the German bounced back in emphatic style to win the following two sets as American Fritz, ranked 68, struggled to regain his form. The 21-year-old is yet to win a Grand Slam, but picked up his 4th ATP title in New York in February. In the 3rd round, it was South African 8th seed Kevin Anderson, who reached the 2017 US Open, defeating the German 25th seed Philipp Kohlschreiber 6-3, 7-5, 7-5. And Madison Keys lost 9 consecutive games as she suffered a shock 3rd round exit at Wimbledon to Russian qualifier Evgenia Rodina. And the American 10th seed lost in 2 hours and 10 minutes in her first meeting with the 29-year-old, who is ranked 120 in the world. And Ekaterina Makarova, who knocked out 2nd seed Caroline Wozniacki in the 3rd round, also progressed. The 30-year-old Russian beat Russia Safarova of the Czech Republic to steal her place in the last 16. And that's it on Sport Update on Plus TV Africa. I am Udoka Njoko.
Thank you, Udoka. And that's our news roundup for today. We will be back later with more stories making the headlines. Do join us. My name is Felicity Ezewike. Do have a great day.